Hey everyone, this is Adi, and you're listening to the Summer of Bitcoin Experience. In this episode, we talk to Autumn Domingo, a Summer of Bitcoin intern from the United States. Autumn was still in high school when she participated as a designer in Summer of Bitcoin 2022. She contributed to Padawan Wallet, an app that simulates a Bitcoin wallet and teaches people how to interact with Bitcoin. Autumn's project was focused on UX research, specifically on understanding how everyday people use Bitcoin wallets, their needs and challenges, and how to solve for them using intuitive user interfaces. What's more, Autumn is also a co founder of Generation Bitcoin, a community built to support, encourage, and inspire teens to jump into the world of Bitcoin. Let's hear it from Autumn. Hope you enjoy it. Hey, Autumn, welcome to the Summer of Bitcoin Experience. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Hello, thank you for having me. I am a senior in high school and I am really into Bitcoin, really into UX design and merging the two. I've been in the space for about a year now, a little bit more than a year, and I've just been working on Bitcoin UX stuff. I co-founded an organization called Generation Bitcoin with Ashana, and it focuses on educating teens and helping them kind of get into the space, get started, help contribute. And it's just a community of us that just try to understand Bitcoin as best we can.
That's fantastic. There's a lot that you're up to. Tell me more about how you got interested in design in the first place.
So I started out with probably going down the engineering track. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to build something. And one thing I love is problem solving. I love coming up with solutions to different problems that help people's lives. And so I was able to kind of stumble upon UX design through a whole process of learning about different business management roles and all of these different things. And then I stumbled on UX and I was like, I could really see myself doing this. And I feel like this could really help. And so this was actually before I knew about Bitcoin. I just knew that this was like a career that I could really see myself doing, and I wanted to learn more about it. So I found a certificate course, a 12-week boot camp, and I joined that. It was a little bit scary at first because it was with a bunch of adults that were like graphic designers for like 10 years. And I was just like, I have no idea. I'm just really interested in UX design and learning the process. And then that's kind of where it all started, from the design aspect.
Well, talk to me about your journey with Bitcoin. What was your first interaction, or when was the first time you heard about it? And how did you stumble down that rabbit hole?
So it started in like 2020 when my dad wouldn't stop talking about it. And he'd usually just use us as a soundboard, like at the dinner tables, it would be Bitcoin conversations. And he's trying to understand the information he's taking in. So we're there and we just listen to it, but none of us were really into it ourselves. And then August of last year, he was like, hey, why don't you fly out to Austin with me and we'll go to the Austin Bit Devs. And I was like, I really don't want to go, but why not? Because I always love new experiences. I get to go to Austin and we never know what I can get out of it. And so I flew to Austin with him for 3 days. We went to the Bitcoin meetup there. I met a ton of people and I met the UX designer for Chaincode Labs, Sahil. And he was like, yeah, UX and Bitcoin, they're compatible. Like they work hand in hand and we need more UX designers in the space. And that was like the aha moment for me because I didn't think those two could intersect. And so from there, I knew nothing about Bitcoin, but I saw myself in the space in as that role. And so I met so many people. I met Jeremy Rubin there. I met Patricia from the Bitcoin space. I met Steven. I met all of these incredible people. I snuck into the after party bar thing with my dad, and I just sat at the table with these great developers and designers in the space. And I was just like soaking up everything I could because I was like, I just want to learn more because I know that I'm in the right space now. It was just a click, like an automatic click. And then after that, I got really excited and I was like, all right, I had like a Bitcoin note on my phone. I started writing down all these resources, asked questions to these people, even if they were like really basic questions. Um, and then from there, it kind of just shot off. I started listening to more books, or reading articles, listening to podcasts, talking a lot about it with my dad, and we kind of just grappled with understanding the tech side, understanding the economic side, understanding the global impact it could have on this world. And so it kind of just burrowed and layered. And then I went to the New York City Bit Devs and all of these other Bit Devs. I went to a conference and just with every single interaction with Bitcoin, I was just like, this is where I want to be, you know? So it's kind of how it started. And it hasn't stopped since. So
You
yeah.
started Generation Bitcoin. Tell us what it is and what was the story behind it.
So the first Bit Devs I went to in New York, um, it was a lot of older people, and I just saw this one girl in the corner with her dad, and I was like, no way, she's my age. Like she looks like she's my age, but I'm not sure. And so at the end, I was like, I have to go up to her because, I got to make buddies with the girl who knows about Bitcoin. So then we exchanged numbers and we just started sending each other Bitcoin resources we found helpful. I met another girl at Lisa Neiget's LARP in the city, and I was like, "Hey guys, we're all interested in Bitcoin. You want to make a group and just let's dig into the white paper at first." And so it was the three of us, and then I talked to it about my friends, and they were like, "I want to learn about Bitcoin," and they joined. And then we met people on Twitter like Arsh, who started a Bitcoin library, like a Bitcoin book section in its library at a school, and we just have been starting to build from there. And now it's a pretty solid group of teens who are really into Bitcoin. Some don't know as much. Some actually work in the space or are contributing. And we learn through presentations, like peer presentations from each other. We learn from going to conferences together, sharing our insight, reading books, having discussions. And so it's more of a community where we learn from each other, and it's just teens excited about Bitcoin. Yeah.
I love that. So before we switch gears to Summer of Bitcoin itself, I do want to hear from you. After all that you've learned about Bitcoin, what do you feel is Bitcoin really solving? Why does it matter? Why is it an important deal?
I think that's a very loaded question because it solves so many things. Um, but I think the most important aspect to understand is that it allows every person to be self-sovereign. And if we talk about Bitcoin from the currency aspect, you don't have to rely on governments, you don't have to rely on third-party institutions, you don't have to rely on banks. You have complete control over your money. And so, like, take the example what happened in Canada with the protesting truckers, right? They were standing up, they were protesting about something they believed in, and the government disapproved of their actions. So they were like, we're gonna shut this down, we're gonna freeze your accounts. And that's hard. You don't have access to the money that you worked for. And so then from there, people tried to raise money for them to support them. But the government was like, no, we still don't want this. So they shut that down. But then people came together and were like, let's raise money and give them Bitcoin. And the government had the same reaction, but they were like, sorry, we can't do anything. It's a network that is run by all of these different people all over the world, and we can't shut it down. And so I think that has so much power because it shows that you have control over that, and it sets your future up for being, I guess, you're just more stable when you have a currency that you have control over opposed to relying on someone else. And that is really powerful, and it's something that has never existed before. And so, yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why Bitcoin is so important.
Sweet. So let's talk about Summer of Bitcoin. When was the first time you heard about it, and what made you apply?
Uh, it all goes back to my dad again. I was working with Ladies in Bitcoin with Sarah Satoshi and her organization, and I was just looking to really jump into the UX side of things and contributing to something that that was more of a project that was more something people could physically interact with. And so my dad was like, check this program out. And I was like, okay. I checked out the link. I looked through the process. I looked through the itinerary. What were we going to be working on? And I just I knew that it was something that I wanted to do because um, it had all of these things I was looking for. I wanted to work on a UX project. I wanted to help develop my skills. I wanted to work with designers. I wanted to work on a Bitcoin project, and I wanted to learn and develop my knowledge of Bitcoin all at the same time. And so that was exactly what Summer of Bitcoin was all about. And so I was like, all right, I don't know if I'm going to get in, but I know that if I at least apply and start my process, I'm going to get something out of it. And I apply next year if I don't get in, same thing. And so that's kind of how it all started. And I haven't like that was an awesome decision, and I learned so much this past summer.
Tell us more about the project that you worked on, and if you could tell us what the benefits were to the project, and also, what was your experience working on it? What things did you end up learning?
So I worked on a project called Padawan Wallet, which uh, is a testnet wallet that allows people to kind of come accustomed to how a Bitcoin mobile wallet works, how you can send, receive uh, transactions, how you can learn about like simple Bitcoin concepts like what's a mempool or what are private keys or what's a seed phrase. And what really drew me to this was the education aspect because as soon as I found out about the Bitcoin space, I saw my role as being I want to break down this barrier between the concept of Bitcoin and all these people who are in it and the regular average Joe, like your uncle, your aunt, your cousin, your grandmother. And because that's when the power really comes from, and that's how you can really help people. And that comes through education, and that comes through practice and making it as simple as it possibly can be so they know that it's not out of their reach and they can accomplish this. It's not this thing for developers only or economists or any of these people who have a type of certain knowledge. And so uh, that was exactly what Padawan was doing. Was it was allowing people to become comfortable with the process of what it's like to actually physically interact with Bitcoin. And once you see that it's that simple, you're like, all right, I'm in. And what's even better is it's on the test net. So it's not like any Bitcoin is lost. It's all coins that don't have any value. So it all works out. And the team that I worked on it with, I had two other designers. They were absolutely amazing. They were from all different parts of the world, and one of them was really great at UI design, and the other one was really great at compiling these awesome wireframes. And so, uh, one thing that I was able to help with was the research aspect of it, and identifying the problems and creating some solutions. And so I feel like we all got to work together and create a product that was helpful for people.
Awesome. Let's take a quick break and hear about today's sponsor. Hey everyone, this is Adi. When I was starting in the Bitcoin industry a few years ago, there were hardly any resources to learn from. It was especially hard to find other like minded Bitcoin developers and discuss about building apps on the Bitcoin blockchain. Well, things have changed, and I'm so excited to share with you about the Build on L2 initiative. Build on L2 is a community led effort by contributors and companies building on Core Lightning and the Liquid network. It's a space to connect with Bitcoin builders, product managers, designers, and developers through events and mentorship programs and learn from experts building the future of Bitcoin. It's exactly what I wish I had when I was starting out in Bitcoin. Go to buildonl2.com to join the community and learn how to build killer apps on Bitcoin. Back to the show. So you worked with one of the most prolific open source designers in the space. Do you want to tell us about him and what was your experience working with him?
Yeah. So Stephen was amazing. Um, I actually was really lucky because I got to meet him at the first bit devs I ever went to. So I knew him a bit, and I also saw him at the Bitcoin conference, and uh, it wasn't my first interaction with him. So that was really great. And he just has this really great personality where you just want to create. He's so encouraging. He's like, let's build something, and he really helped me through that process because I was working on a team where these people were way more experienced than I am. They've worked on many projects. They've like crafted what they know, and they did an amazing job on it. And like halfway through, I felt a little stuck because I was like, I don't have as much experience as them, so like, how can I help? And luckily I reached out to him, and he was like, all right, I understand, because working on open source projects is not easy because there's a lot of let's just create. There's not a lot of like a boss telling you this is what I want, this is what I need, let's get this done. It's more collaborative. It's like free flowing ideas, taking what you want it to be and building that. And that's amazing. And so he said, just comment on the different designs that they had. He gave me such great advice, and he really gave me more confidence to just go in the second half and be more motivated, because he was like, I understand where you are, but these are the things you can still like work on. And he even took like an hour out of his time, and we sat on a call, and he was like, here, like, this is how you can design some of these wireframes and make them kind of go from low fidelity wireframes to high fidelity wireframes and make them look more authentic. And I saw him do this in like 5 seconds. Like, he did it so easily. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And so he showed by example, he led by example, and he was so understanding, and he met every point and made sure everyone got a say, everyone was contributing. And I couldn't ask for a better mentor. He really helped everyone, I think, and he was just so much fun to work with.
So what are your plans now after Summer of Bitcoin? Are you currently working on Bitcoin, and what's next on your radar?
So right now I actually want to dive more into the business side, business development. Uh, I still love design. I've actually been working on like a few Figma files, just to keep getting better at designing, creating, uh, taking something that is in my head and visually representing it. And so just taking that practice of keep on designing, but also understanding other aspects of things, I think is really important. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I haven't been working on a certain project or anything right now. I've just been working on Generation Bitcoin, working on design, and kind of finding my way about like the business development side and understanding more the business aspect of Bitcoin.
All right. What advice would you give to a beginner Bitcoin designer who wants to get started, with contributing to Bitcoin design?
Uh, I think the best resource to look into is the Bitcoin design community. Uh, that has introductory information to Bitcoin, and it also kind of has a guide to this is what you kind of have to do in order to create a product in design. And we also have an amazing community with a bunch of different Bitcoin designers who work in the space. You can join their Slack, ask questions in the Slack. It's super open. Everyone's so helpful, and you make connections. You meet people, and I think that's one of the best things to do when you're in the Bitcoin space is go to conferences, go to all these meetups, and meet as many people as you can because there's always something to collaborate on. There's always something to build. And what's great about the Bitcoin space is everyone is looking for that. No one's like, no, I have the best wallet or I have the best hardware wallet. No, it's like we're a community and we're building this thing and helping make it better for everyone else. And it's such a uplifting space. And so that's also another thing that the Bitcoin design community has is it's like, all right, you're a developer, you're a designer. I have this idea. You think this is feasible? All right, let's do it. And I love that, it's taking action and making things. And I think that's what all like the Bitcoin design community and Bitcoin in general is all about.
All right. So, Summer of Bitcoin 2023 is around the corner. Do you have any specific tips or advice for those who are looking to participate and want to get selected in the 2023 program?
Um, I think first, whether you're a developer or designer, the first process is just at least having some basic information of what you're doing because you have like the first process that you have to go through is uh, these are the things that I've done. So having your portfolio, submitting your portfolio, saying this is what I got and this is what I offer. So definitely creating a place that you have all your work compiled into that is easy to look at. So like what I did was I have my own website, which is basically just my portfolio, everything that I've done, the presentations I've given, and stuff like that, and put that into an easy place that shows your work and shows who you are to give them a good understanding. Then once you get into the second round, which is more of diving into Bitcoin and learning about Bitcoin topics, go through all of the information because every single article, every podcast, every video that they have within the curriculum is gold. They are so specific. They talk about a certain point and they really help you understand Bitcoin. And if you're a designer, you might not think like, oh, I'm not as into the development side or the technical side of Bitcoin. There's no getting around it. You have to understand the technical side in order to design in the space. And by really going through every single concept, every single thing, and really understanding it, and coming up with your answer to your questions, meeting up with your partner beforehand to make sure that your answer is solid and your explanation makes sense will make all the difference. You really have to kind of go the extra mile to understand this. And I think one thing is you're going to get out of it what you put in. So if you put a little bit, you'll understand that and that's fine. But if you put a good amount of work in and you fully understand what is going on and what is happening, you just build a whole space around you where you can talk to other people, you meet people from all over the world. Like I still have friends that I talk to on Discord that I met at Summer of Bitcoin. And so make acquaintances, don't feel afraid to like reach out to people because from like two friends that I made maybe in the first 2 weeks, I still am in touch with them. And if I ever had a question about the material, if I ever was like, so what are you doing for this? They'll always come back and be like, here, this is my explanation. This could help. And so you have a community that you have access to when you join Summer of Bitcoin and take advantage of that because the people are so nice. They're working towards the same goal. And you're gonna make lifelong friends, I think. And you're actually you're working on something and you're helping each other out. So I love that aspect.
Awesome. So that's a good place to wrap up. Thank you so much, Autumn. Where can people follow you and your work on the internet?
My Twitter is autumndomingo _ I also have a website, autumndomingo.com, if you want to check me out there. You can also access my email on my website, but probably Twitter is the best to get in touch with me. Feel free to send me a DM if you have any questions, if you want advice, if you just want to talk about Bitcoin, if literally anything. I know nowhere close to any like grand amount of knowledge in the Bitcoin space, but I'm here to offer as much as I can.
Okay, this was fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Summer of Bitcoin experience. I would love to get your thoughts on what else would you like to hear from these student developers and how to make this the most valuable podcast for getting started with Bitcoin open source development. Write to us at hello@summerofbitcoin.org. Can you do us a small favor? Go online and share this episode with at least one friend who you think would benefit from this episode. Until next time.